Hi everybody, sorry to keep you waiting. I had to close the door and make sure that the dogs weren't going to make loads of noise. Which answers one of the first questions already from James Lilly. Do I have a dog? Yeah, we have 2 dogs here. How's everyone doing? As you can probably see, things have changed a little bit here since the last time I did a live stream. I had absolutely no idea how awful the lighting was last time, and to watch it back. And the audio, actually, I think I had the wrong microphone plugged in, so hopefully you can hear me nice and clearly right now. I've had a few teething problems with the live chat because that didn't really want to work. I can see, right, let's go through some names. Lord de Lego, hype, he was here before. Evening, Chris and everybody. Ray Gatland, good afternoon from North Carolina, USA. Hopefully you're all hearing this and seeing this clearly. I've got no proof just yet. I'm just going to look over there to Micah because she's on her phone and it looks like it's working, so that's good. It's always good to test these things. We have Gareth Taffy W. Evening all. Even Lala. I remember answering your questions before. James Lee with the dogs. Troy Collett. I've seen you comment before. 6:30 a.m. in Australia. Didn't realise you were in Australia though. My favourite name that I'm going to ruin the pronunciation from. Awab Abdullahi. Something's just fallen over behind me again. Hello from Finland. GB, good evening. Kent Benson, hi everyone. Skedbra, hi Chris and everyone. James Smith, evening folks. I'm not going to sit here and read out all your comments in that way. So, the idea of this video was purely to be like a Q&A really. I didn't really have a set format for it. Since the last time I did one of these, learned a lot of basic mistakes that I'd made and tried to address that. So hopefully this little setup that you can see looks a bit better. I'm sat in a little box now, so if my hands go up there, they disappear. There's a green screen behind me, which means you don't get to see all the mess in my house, and means I didn't have to tidy up either, which is quite nice. Quite like this picture. It's from a video that I was going to put out this weekend, but I've been so busy it won't be going out. It's a video about just the most disgusting and toughest mountain bike climbs in the local area. I didn't make it up that climb. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably would have seen me falling off already. It's a place called Blue Hills, which is near St Agnes, and it's a genuine 35-40% off-road, as in gradient-wise, and it's rocky. You have to cross over a camber. Anyway, that's enough of me waffling about my mountain bike exploits. Ask me some questions. That's what I'm here for. That's what I enjoy doing. If there are no questions in the next 2 minutes, I have plenty on other videos, and we can go and find those. Hi Chris, thank you for doing this on a miserable Saturday. If I'm guessing Treve Jenkin, you're in the UK, it is absolutely disgusting. It's so wet and so grim outside. It's just, everything is wet. Just, you can forget going outside without a waterproof. It's just not going to happen at the moment. And it's pretty cold. It's going to get cold tomorrow, which is partly why I've spent loads of time on my mountain bike recently. It's just, it's nicer to be going a little bit slower, not in the wind and the rain at the speed you'd be on the road bike. Definitely get a lot colder doing that. Troy Collett, when's my first race? We don't really know, Troy, is the honest answer. There is talk of some online virtual racing coming. I mean, that's quite different to what we'd like to do in real life. Probably May would be my estimation, would be the first racing here in the UK. Skedbro, where's the beer? I've only got a glass of water this evening. I'm trying to behave. I think that was also, oh, look at that. That sort of goes invisible against the green screen. How cool is that? Yeah, trying to behave, be well prepared for any questions. Here we go. What are my thoughts on the Aero Hub at Newquay and how it was failed? Honestly, don't know what the Aero Hub is at Newquay. Was that the thing where they're going to do a space launch? Was that the Aero Hub? 3 degrees C up here and windy in the northwest. Question from Cycling Callum, power meter or carbon wheels? That's a good question. If you have disc brakes, carbon wheels, because they last forever nowadays on discs. If you want to train and get to know yourself better as an athlete and you're racing on the road, then actually a power meter is probably going to be more beneficial. Tom recently got Zwift. He's got stuck into some longer sessions, having saddle pain. Any reason why? Probably because you sat down for a lot of time on the turbo trainer. The turbo trainer doesn't move. If you follow someone on a bike outside, you'll notice their seat tube just sways ever so slightly, whereas the turbo trainer is bolted pretty rigidly to the floor. Rocker plates are good against that, but they're really expensive. Something else you could do is just lower your saddle slightly, although you'll probably find actually sitting indoors it's going to be quite uncomfortable. Gareth Taffy W says boo water. Just try and move around on the turbo trainer. I think is quite important because it is a really uncomfortable thing to be sat on, and for sitting in the same position for too long, you're never going to feel quite like you do outside. If you're outside, you're standing up out of corners, away from traffic lights, descents, climbs, things like that. And it just breaks up the monotony of sitting in one position, so it's definitely better for you. Right, I'm going to go and find a couple of questions on some past videos. Ashley Sutton. Hi Chris, will the lower pressures of tubeless tyres suit larger riders? Yes, they will. Obviously, there's a limit on that. That is being that if you weigh 120 kilos, you're not going to want to run 5 bar on your tyres or 60 psi, something like that. It's just going to be really soft and squidgy. It's all relative, isn't it? I once read a chart that said for a certain size tyre, I think it's a 25 or a 28C tyre, that if you had 10 kilos per bar of pressure, so if you're 70 kilos, you'd have 7 bars in your tyres. 80 kilos, it's probably quite outdated information now. 80 kilos would be 8 bar in your tyres. And then with tubeless, you drop it a little bit, but you don't want to drop it hugely because you don't want to be touching the rim on any bumps and things like that. Right, we're getting loads of questions now. Legend of Sponge. Do I think I could beat Cy? I guess you mean Cy Richardson. And yes, I know I can, because we did loads of timed events at GCN and he never beat me. Apart from one hill climb, actually, in his defence. Sasha Pakin. While on the subject of wheels, how many kilometres do carbon rims last on rim brakes? Thousands. Carbon rims still last a long, long time. It's just you don't want to be using them in the wets because carbon rims simply don't brake quite as well as aluminium rims do. There's less friction on the braking surface. The braking surface can wear, or it can be susceptible to scarring from little bits of stones and things like that. I like this next question. Did I see the video of Danny McCaskill on his mountain bike on the Isle of Skye? Mega daring. Yeah, that was incredible. If you're referring to the slabs video, I guess that is, that went out this week. It's a video where he rides from the top of a mountain to the bottom. What I can't quite work out is it looks like it's in one take, although there are a few cut points. But the impressive thing to me is it doesn't look like it's marked on the slabs which direction to go. So it almost looks like, unless he's rehearsed it and memorised the route down, which would be quite phenomenal because it all looked the same. It's well worth a watch actually. Danny McCaskill, slabs. Diego De Freitas. Try the Kurt Kinetics rock and roll. That's a turbo trainer that moves around. That is a good idea. Ian Carson. Hi Chris. Is outdoors road racing a dying sport in the UK? Yes and no is the answer to that. And I'm going to have a drink and tell you why. So in the 70s and 80s, it was a huge sport in the UK. And then the 90s, it was a little bit quieter and sort of died off into the early 2000s. And then there was this massive boom. And it's just trends, I think. Things come and go. They're fashionable. People get into the way of life of cycling and the events and things like that. But then people's competitive spirit, sort of dwindles and drops off a little bit. The public, the demand isn't there for it at that point in time. I think it will come back. All sports have, ups and downs and things like that. There's loads of people taking part in cycling at the moment, which is potentially quite a good thing for the road racing to come back again. But maybe also road racing is quite an old format, isn't it? It's been around since the early 1900s or the late 1800s. So maybe the appetite isn't there for road racing in that sort of capacity anymore. Like, people want to see new and exciting things, like what the Tour Series was when it first came out in, I think, 2008 or 9. Abdelahai. What's up? Have I raced in crits before? Yeah, I've done lots of crits. That's basically, if it wasn't for Criterium Racing, which are short city centre races, I probably wouldn't have had a career as a bike rider. They were huge here in the UK, lots of fun to ride, last around 75 minutes, mega competitive, every corner, you're going in as fast as you can. I like racing the crits and I was relatively good at them. GB, can I put Shimano 105 stages on a full Orbea Avant M20S full Ultegra, or will I need to change my bottom bracket? No, if you've got Ultegra cranks on there already, you can definitely just put the 105 crank on the other side, from what I understand. KSYNC. Hey Chris, does it help to be a gifted cyclist to win the board game Flamme Rouge? I've played the board game Flamme Rouge with someone called David Potter, and I wasn't very good at it, from memory. He beat me. In fact, I think I came last out of everyone, didn't I, in that game? I'm looking at Micah, she's just sat to the side of me. Is Cam Jeffers Ribble quality? Archie Gibbs. I'm not really sure what that question means. Is he up to the standard of riding for the team? Absolutely, yeah. He's a good bike rider. Legend of Sponge. A huge inspiration. Started riding because of you. Oh, thank you. That's very nice. And I'm very pleased that you think so. That's kind of the idea of this, is I'd like people to watch the videos and then feel like they want to go out and ride on their bike. E-Bike Adventures. Now, E-Bike Adventures is someone called Ben Drone, he's saved as in my phone. Ben Roberts in North Wales. Hi, Ben. You should follow his channel. Go and have a look at the videos that he does, because I can't film, but Ben can definitely film. Tom, favourite rider? If you're asking a question, who's my favourite rider? I think Mathieu van der Poel, just because what can't he do? Troy Collett, would I try the Zwift Academy again now the age limit is open? Maybe. Yeah, why not? It might be a little bit fun at the end of the year. DB Sun, hey Chris, which online training platform do I think has the best chance of overtaking Zwift? Ooh, that's a tricky one actually. I don't know. I've not spent more than a few minutes on the other platforms, so I'm not really in a position to say. Maybe there's something out there in development that none of us have even heard of that is just going to come and take the market by storm. I don't know. Maybe for me it'd be something that looked like the real world, but still had the qualities of Zwift. I think, like, you know, the competitive side of things and the fact that you can chat to each other. I think that would make it good. Gareth Taffy W, brilliant name. Oh, hang on, sorry, I've missed Tom. How is Micah and how's her training going? Micah's doing well. She's back in the Toby trainer. She's actually got herself a Zwift account now and has started doing a little bit more again. The weather here is really not nice for riding on the road at the moment, so lots of indoor riding. A little bit together, although I seem to be trying to avoid riding my road bike too much at the moment for... I'm not actually sure why. I think having done it for 20-something years. Hi Chris, how tangible are the changes from a tyre such as gator skins across to a GP5000 or a Vittoria Corsa? Looking to put some nice tyres on for when the weather comes back. The sun comes back, sorry. That's Gareth Taffy W. Can't speak this evening. Yeah, good quality tyres like GP5000s or Vittoria Corsa is going to be so much faster than your gator skins that you mentioned there. Just good tyres are probably a better upgrade than wheels to start with. You really, really, really will notice a big difference. I really can't speak, can I? Mr. Grumpy 53. If I raced and lived where it was relatively flat, what gearing would I use? I'd probably, well, like the Netherlands, I'd probably use something like a 3950. Oh, a 42 is a nice inner ring actually. 42 with a 53 and then like a 25, 12 or 11. I probably wouldn't use the 11. Every now and again if you have a nice tailwind. Awab is now asking who'd win in an arm wrestle, me or Hank. Once upon a time, Hank and I arm wrestled and it was dead heat, complete dead heat. Dan Lloyd then took his opportunity to see if he could beat either of the weakened of us. Bearing in mind he's got long arms, big levers. He then beat both of us, which was really, really quite a bizarre experience. But Hank and I were there like sweating, trying to arm wrestle in the GCN set. Pray Manuel, how have you been, Chris? I've been well. Busy, very, very busy. And you'll find out on Monday exactly what I've been busy doing. Carolis Simenas. Hey, Chris, sorry if I'm repeating. What would you suggest for winter off-season training? Polarized, SST or base miles? So these are very, very different types of training. So steady state training or long, slow base miles or the polarized approach. I really like that polarized approach because you spend a percentage of time riding fairly easy and you spend a very small amount of time riding incredibly hard. Specific intervals that are designed to make you fitter, obviously. And I think that's a really good way because it's mentally not straining. And this is what I've spent a lot of time doing in the last 14 months. It's mentally not too draining and physically it's also not too demanding and you notice the progression quite quickly. And it is just enjoyable because the intervals are quite different to anything that you do doing the other more standard types of training. Archie Gibbs, do I have a kicker? No, I currently use a Saris H3 on top of their MP1 rocker plate. That belongs to them and I'm very lucky that I get to use that. Tom, I think something free will take over Zwift. I think you might be right, Tom. I think ultimately at some point there will be something out there. Maybe there'll be advertising on it, but I think that might well happen. Bob Corton, are training rides of 5 hours worth doing if you have the time over 3-hour rides? Is there a long-term beneficial training effect? Yes, Bob, there is. You'll become more efficient. You'll increase your development of those little tiny cells that are inside your muscles, the mitochondria, and that'll help the ability to deliver oxygen and fuel to your muscles. So therefore, when you're trying to work harder, your body is just more efficient and more effective at making yourself go faster. I've not started speaking too quickly yet this evening, have I? Because Mike is here with the metronome. Tick, tick, tick. Make sure you don't speak too quickly. Yeah, there is a benefit to it, as long as it's not going to encroach on any other aspects of your life. So if it's coming at the detriment of something else, and that means that you're not recovering properly, then no, it's probably not worth doing. Lord de Lego recently participated in the Wahoo SAS group ride on Zwift led by Chris Pritchard. How did I find it? Comment, you seem to be going strong. No, that was honestly the best experience I've ever had on Zwift. I've used Zwift a fair amount. I think I've done just under 2,000 kilometers now in total over a few years. So not huge amounts, but that was the first proper group ride I'd done that I watched the live stream. I know Chris Pritchard. He actually came on training camps with us back in 2013 when he was still a bike rider, and did like generalised soigneur jobs for the team. And he's a very nice guy. And it was nice to ride along and have a little bit of a chat. And he was also stronger than I was expecting. I liked his little attack towards the end. So those rides are on a Thursday evening at, I can't remember the time. What time was it? 6:30-ish? It was a good ride. I should know this. Not 10 past 6. Ray Gatland, have you considered riding some mountain bike races? Yes, Ray. That's a huge plan for this year. Tom, best tyre of all time, Hutchinson Fusion 5. Ooh. That's a tricky one. The best tyre of all time. I don't know if I'd say it was a Hutchinson Fusion 5, and I can sit here and say that. Best tyre of all time. Something tubeless. The Continentals are really good, GP 5000s. Actually, the Vittoria Corsas that I mentioned before, we had those in 2016 when it was like a new thing with the graphene tread. Absolutely amazing. They stuck to everything. We rarely punctured. They were quite light, so they were good as well. What would I go for at the moment? GP 5000 tubeless, that'd be quite nice. Goodwin Cycles, coming up to my 16th birthday. Should I get carbon wheel set for my road bike or a better mountain bike? Goodwin Cycles, that massively depends on what you're going to be doing, to be honest, because if you'd like to go and race mountain bikes and do a lot more off-road, then it'd be beneficial to invest in that. But if you're purely dedicated to riding on the road, then actually that road wheel set would be more beneficial to you, I think. If it was me, mountain biking is going to help your road riding a lot as well. GP 5000s versus GP 4 Seasons. I'll go GP 5000s. Tyres are good these days. They don't puncture like they used to. They're a lot more durable. I know they're a light tyre. The GP 5000s do wear, but they don't puncture like you would expect a lightweight race tyre to. Awab, do you think road racing needs to update its format? I do slightly. I think the massive racing that you have on the continent, you know, the landmark monuments, so all the famous events that we like watching on telly, I don't think they need to change. I think that's what people want to watch. They want to see it because it's the name of the event and that format works. But I think for the lower levels like domestic racing and things like that, I think maybe it should be a little bit different. Lord de Lego, when will Micah have her own channel and become a YouTube influencer herself? Follow up, if she'd have an account, what would the theme or topic of it most likely be? Probably living with a nightmare and me being the nightmare. What would you do? Would you do a YouTube channel? Our 9-year-old or our 8-year-old really wants one. Every now and again we tell him he's got one just to keep him happy. Archie Gibbs, what carbon wheels would you recommend for leisure riding? Whatever you can afford. What would I'd go for like a 35-40mm profile so that you never feel stressed if it's windy. So nothing too big. I love 60mm. Archie, oh no, that was Archie. Carolis, could you tell us a bit more about your week in training? Well, at this point, I hope my coach isn't listening because I've had a terrible week of training. I've been really busy doing other things, and I've completely, well, not neglected riding my bike, but it's not quite worked out in the way I'd hoped. Generally, I was doing like I'd wake up early and do my training in the morning, then go on and do all the other things that I need to do in a day. But this week, with the weather, and I've been really tired, so yeah, I've struggled this week. It's not been a good week. But normally, there'd be 2 long rides and then some shorter rides with intervals and then 2 days of doing some sort of cross training, so running or gym work or something like that. But at the moment, and also with the fact that we don't actually have a definitive date when we're going to start racing, it's been a little bit different. It's been, yeah, motivational wise, it's different because you want to commit yourself to a goal. And whilst you can't do that at the moment, it makes it a little bit harder to throw yourself into the training in the way that I would like to. Can I give you any discount for the St. Piran store? Not that I know of. There was a code back at the end of the year, in October, November time. So maybe I could ask for one. But yeah, I don't get a discount there. I don't buy anything there myself, actually. But I'll try. I'll see what I can do. And what is good discount these days anyway? I come from a world where I'm used to seeing and hearing about crazy amounts of discounts. So what makes it worth it? What is appealing? I'd like to know that. Maybe we can work something out. GP 5000's running gator skins for the winter. Good choice. Diego de Freitas. Hey Chris, how's it going so far on the road back to being a pro rider? Well, I'll answer that really quickly. It's not going very well so far. Has the COVID been beneficial in any way for me, as it arrived quite at the beginning, getting back to being a rider? So it's obviously it was a terrible time to try and rekindle a career as a bike rider. However, it was a good year, as in everything that I wanted in my life I managed to get back last year. So more time with my family, more time on bikes, more time leading my life, as it were, even though we're all forced to stay at home. So yeah, I don't look back at it as it was a good decision, but it's definitely not been a good timing. It couldn't have been a worse timing. In fact, maybe 3 years ago it might have been slightly better. Not a lot I can do about it. I'm quite happy. Imagine worst case scenario, never get to race again because I can't get to the level that I need to be, or all sorts of things come into the way, get in the way of it. It's not the end of the world. I had a career before. I know what it's like. I can still ride a bike. I can still see my friends. It's all okay. I say that trying to reassure myself at the same time, but no, it is fine. It's just not great timing. So no, that journey's not gone well. The only thing I would say is I was definitely fit enough last year, 12 months ago, because I was very motivated to get back to racing. So I know that if I want to get back to that level, and as soon as we have dates, then yeah, physically, easy. Dura-Ace Di 212 rim or 105 hydraulic disc. I go 105 hydraulic disc, but that's because I'm a little bit heavier and I really like disc brakes. Everything about disc brakes I prefer to rim brakes, everything. So I would choose the hydraulics and hydraulic brakes compared to cable pull rim brakes. So smooth. Jack Morrissey, what's my peak 10-second power? I actually don't know that off the top of my head, and I don't know where I've put my phone, so I don't know if I can look it up. I was looking. Here we go. It's 15 something, 1500 and something. I'll go to the next question. I'll come back to that. What mountain bike races am I planning on doing? So last year I really wanted to do the Transalps with my coach or someone that my coach knows. So that's Stefan from Spokes Fit. I can do 5 seconds for you. 5 seconds is 16:44. Sounds like quite a lot. Peaks. This is boring viewing, isn't it, if you're watching me going through my phone? Nope, can't get to that. Does that help at all? 5 second power? It turns out I haven't done many 10-second sprints. We'll come back to that. Yeah, and then I'd like to do the National Marathon Series. I'd like to do the longer cross-country events. Not the National Marathon Series, National Marathon Championships and the National Cross Country Series. Not huge amounts of racing, but enough that makes it new and exciting. That would be good. Which concept of periodization, this is from Mark Collar, do I follow, or which can you recommend and which not? Standard, linear, reverse, block, and do I stick to a polarized model? That's quite a complex question. You should be asking a very, very highly qualified coach that. I can't really answer that, if I'm really, really honest. So I like to go for a general build-up with an athlete that I was coaching or with myself to make sure that I'm at a standard good base level, and then you can analyse where weaknesses are, and then from there you can tailor that towards the event that you want to do well in, what needs addressing, what doesn't need addressing. No reverse periodization, just fairly standard, although I know that in years gone by, to reduce the hours outside in the winter, I have done that, and that did work quite well. Do I stick to a polarised model these days? It is closer to that, yes. Do you know the Swiss-made wheels? I do know of them. I don't know much about them. That's from Cyril Berthold. Goodwin Cycles, power pedals or power cranks? I'd go power cranks, only because that means you can then choose the pedals that you like afterwards. Whereas if you go power pedals, you have to have that sort of form of pedal, and not everyone likes the same type of pedal. I don't like the power pedals come with a look cleat, I think, don't they? Or that sort of style smaller cleat, and it just feels less stable to me. Have I got a favourite climb from the events I was in as a pro rider? What made it special and memorable? That's from Gareth Taffy W. Oh, favourite climb as a rider. I don't know that I ever went up a climb ever and thought it was my favourite climb. I think I always just hated it going uphill. Not quite hated. I'm trying to think back through many years of bike riding. It's quite difficult to do that on the spot. One thing that was special was riding up Haytor in the 2013 Tour of Britain, because they estimated there was something like 500,000 people on the climb that day. It was loud. My 1-year-old son was at the top, and my wife and family, and it's the closest the Tour of Britain was coming to where I am from in Cornwall, so that was special. But favourite climb, I don't think that's something you'll ever hear me say. Something short, maybe. John Rogers, one of two. I know it's a long question, probably deserves a separate video. Can you go through the process, what the process was of turning pro and spending time in France? I mean, that is a long question. That would take a long time. I raced from being a child, and it was up and down all the time, as things like that go. I was really driven and determined, and I knew I really, really wanted to do it. A few setbacks. Ultimately, I met the right people at the right time, which meant that I had good backing and support, physically and mentally as well, and got some good results. And then off the back of that, was introduced via friends and teammates into other teams. So it sounds really simple when you say it like that, doesn't it? It is really simple. Work hard, do well, be nice to everyone. That's cycling. I would say that it's more who you know and not what you know. So it's how you network with people will make a big difference. That's not something I was ever very good at. Andrew Barry, do you think getting a power meter for my road bike would really help to gauge fitness? It would definitely help to gauge fitness. Yes, they are an absolute measuring device. It's really, what's what. It's like standing on the scales. It's slightly different because weight fluctuates, but watts stay the same. Yeah, it's absolute, and you'll never have to question if you're going well or not. But then feeling still comes into it. You still have to feel good on your bike. Sasha Pakin, very specific question. Can you use a clutch derailleur with an oval chainring, or with a variable shape of the rings cause the clutch to block the chain while pedaling? No, I have oval chain rings. I have a clutch mech on my mountain bike. Works absolutely fine. It does move, but ever so slightly, but it's moving on the trails anyway, over like severe bumps and things like that. It's maybe it will accelerate the wear, but I would imagine it's going to be so slight that you'll probably break the mech before you actually notice. Carlos Simenas, last one for me. Why is my glass filled with water and not beer? Well, I need to try and drink less, basically. I did have a beer before I did this, and I did have more than one yesterday, so that's why today I've got water. I don't want to wake up tomorrow morning feeling like I felt this morning. Tom, I recently started cycling and wanted to do cyclocross. Recently got a mountain bike. What should I do to train as there are no races? Zone 2 and skills is a suggestion from Tom himself. I would go out, ride your bike, do one day where you do like a race simulation, 1 day a week. Go and ride as hard and fast as you can for an hour. Warm up gently, and then just go and ride really hard and fast for an hour. Set yourself a little loop, a little test circuit, and you can try and compare your times each time. That'd be quite a good fun thing to do, I think. I just had a real fear that some of the software wasn't working, but it is. I did press the button, so that's okay. And then really focus on the skills. Skills will make you a more efficient bike rider, make you a more competent bike rider. The more that you can do to build like your catalogue of experience, as I like to refer to it, across all sorts of terrains, things like that, is going to help you massively when it comes to racing. In the Netherlands, but I'd love to hear... Oh, okay, sorry, that's just continuation of the first part of the question. Is there a limit on the text in the boxes in the chat? I don't know this. I've never written into one. Hey, fan team and fan lodges, and how you adapted racing in the countries. I like going to different places, so adapting to racing in different countries was always something that was fun. This is to finish John's question from earlier. There was never a language barrier problem because I quite like trying to speak other languages. And generally, you have a common interest. Everyone likes cycling, and people in teams. It's a nice environment to be in the cycling team because people get on. Generally, the teams are picked and chosen to work well. Joshua, Jack Smith and Lord Delego are enjoying a little chat amongst themselves there. Can you see e-bike World Tour Series in the future? No, I don't think so, Awab. I think e-bikes, I know they have them on the mountain bike scene as a world champs, but I think even that's a bit gimmicky because surely the lightest rider, so Tom Pickott won this year, didn't he? He was probably the lightest rider in the top 5 or top 10, maybe even in the entire race. And I think you stand to benefit so much because it is a power to weight thing. And I know cycling's power to weight anyway, but if you look at his power and weight compared to the e-bike motor, so what are they doing? They're around 300 watts, aren't they? He's benefiting much more from that 300 watts than someone that is 20 kilos heavier than him. So I think it's a bit, it's cool, it's nice, and it's progressive, but I think it's not probably the most serious of world championships, is it? It's almost like the Dutch headwind world champs. John Rogers, on the other hand, where in the world have I raced? I've raced everywhere, including America now, although Leadville's probably a sportif, really. I know that you mentioned a race in the Middle East when you last did a Q&A at the start of January. Also, how much fun was it working with Emma Pooley? It was good fun working with Emma. It was definitely less enjoyable working at GCN when she left. Australia, I've raced there. Hong Kong, Korea, most of Europe, inside the Arctic Circle. Most places, not as much as some people have. Some people have really been everywhere. But yeah, it was a good way of, not, I wouldn't say seeing the world. It's not a good way of seeing the world. If you're travelling for work, it's actually quite a hard way to see the world. Ian Ball, talking of the St. Piran shop, I must go and check if they've got the mugs in yet. Have we got mugs on the way? Thank you for the honest answer on the personal topic. Diego, no problem. Julie Mahoney, evening Chris. Don't forget you're going to fit in a cyclocross race. Yes, I have promised Julie and Georgia at the Cycling Talk podcast that I would do one of their races. Lord Delego, pineapple on pizza. Yay or nay? No, not into pineapple on pizza. Favourite team I've been in? This is from Goodwin Cycles. UK Youth was my favourite team, easily. 2012 and 13, just 2 really good years, good people, disciplined, strict, but nice. Sometimes a few of us say if we could click our fingers and go back to 2013, because we all rode well, we had really advanced bikes compared to what everyone else had, and things like that makes a big difference. And also when you're younger and you're on an upward trajectory, everything's exciting and it's easy to be motivated then. When you've reached what you perceive to be as your peak and you start coming down the other side, much less exciting. Top tips on getting brands to notice you and how to approach brands for sponsorships. That's from Goodwin Cycles again. Social media is massive for brands these days, like it or not. I think most of us probably don't like it, but it is a fact. So conducting yourself well on social media, race results, just having a story to tell. Storytelling appears to be a really big important thing, especially now that we're all sort of limited to what we can actually get out and do. So doing small things but learning how to talk about them really, really well in great detail, something that I'm not actually that good at, and portraying that to the world on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, any form of social media, Strava, Komoot, things like that as well, fitness sites, and just conducting yourself well, tagging brands in certain images if you've used their products because it's free advertising for them, and slowly their social media, I don't know how you'd call a social media person, their social media workforce will start to see that, and they'll start to like your replies and things like that, and you will get noticed. It just takes time, actually. You just need to be really patient with things. That's probably the most important thing to remember. There's a 200 text limit to 200 character text limit on comments in the chat. Do I run at all? If so, how much a week? That's David Smeaton. I have run, never more than about an hour and a half a week over 2 or 3 different runs, and it was hard. I wouldn't say I enjoyed it, but it was good. It's a nice thing to do when it's so different to cycling. What better to do in these themes? Low intensity and small amounts of high intensity, or a small amount of low intensity? Tom, I would go with low intensity with small amounts of high intensity in on top of that as well. So imagine you ride your bike for 10 hours a week. Don't go too hard for most of it, and then go really, really hard for some of it. So maybe 2 hours out of that 10 you could be going and doing some really hard intervals and things like that. Trainer Road or Zwift? I've never been on Trainer Road, so I have to say Zwift. Purely, it's the only virtual thing. I'm still quite happy using a turbo trainer without anything, just music. Come on guys, live his video. I'm not sure what that means. Goodwin Cycles, can I ride with you? Yes, when there's no global pandemic, we can all go for a bike ride. Ever think of hosting a podcast, Chris? Sully7334. I've never thought about it. I've been on one recently. I keep on mentioning that. It was good. Arnold Chan. Hi, Chris. Kids sleeping? I hope they are. If they're not, I'll be worried. How do you get in a lot of riding, still balance family, work, life, recovery? Do my kids like long rides. Kids don't like bike rides. Well, no, that's not true. They do. They can't ride far or fast because they're kids. I wake up early, and if I want to ride more, the more I want to ride, the earlier I have to wake up, basically. I think that's fair, isn't it? So if I want to go out and ride 6 hours tomorrow morning, I'll have to get up at silly o'clock in the morning. But that's fair enough, I think. It was easy when it was my full-time job, cycling, that is, because it was my job. As it's had to be fit in around other things, I actually find that riding shorter but riding harder is quite a good way of fulfilling those sort of demands. Just picking your moments, choosing your battles, things like that are quite important. Chris really reminds me of a friend that used to ride for Richardson Trek. I wonder who that is. That's from Joshua Jack. Anna Phillips, can you recommend how an older, small-framed female can increase power on the bike? That's quite a good question, actually. Depends how, well, it doesn't depend how old you are. It depends on a few things. It depends on your cycling history, for a start. If you've done loads and loads of long-distance riding, you've never focused on being explosive and things like that, then that would be a good place to start. Often reducing the amount of time you spend riding a bike and focusing on just riding harder is a really good way for people to actually gain fitness, because a lot of people like riding their bikes a lot, and that actually dents your ability to increase that short duration power and the sort of punch that you might like. Lots of intervals, short, intense intervals of somewhere between 30 seconds and 7 minutes will do a lot. You know, anywhere in that will do a lot to help boost your power output as a bike rider. Overgeared stuff I wouldn't recommend, because it's not scientifically actually proven to help benefit, so that could be just a waste of time unless you're doing it for very short periods, and it really is like doing squats. Got loads of questions now. Hopefully that helps, Anna. Total Control 871, hi Chris, how is my cycling motivation these days? It's up and down because we don't have any dates for the races, so it makes it actually hard to be really motivated. Have I thought of going into coaching or directorship? No, not really. Coaching and mentoring is something that I do like. Directing, no, that's not so much for me. Then there's a huge amount of travelling, and that'd be very tiring. Johnny Graham, have I ever raced in Northern Ireland? No, but I have raced in Ireland. Awab, have I ever thought about vlogging my races? Yes, that was basically the whole reason for having a YouTube channel, was go to bike races, talk about what happened at the race, edit the video on the way home, have it uploaded, some sort of race debrief. That would have been quite good. Here we go. Gareth, any plans on doing some Zwift live streams when you can face getting back on the road bike? Gareth, visit the channel on Monday and you'll find out lots more. CID biking, what size bike do I ride and how tall am I? So I ride a 54cm bike, so whatever size bike it is, it always equates to a 54cm road bike. I upsize my mountain bike, no idea why, personally I prefer it. And I'm 1m78 and my inside leg I think is 80cm, 79cm. My saddle height is 74cm roughly, so not massively long legs. And I choose my bike based on the head tube, so I like the head tube to be around 14cm on a bike, 14 and a half. And that helps dictate the size I take. Would I be interested in doing a group ride with a Q&A session? Yes, Julie, I would. Yep. What's the warmest temperature I've ridden in? Where was it? Do I prefer cooler or toastier temperatures? From Lord de Lego. Definitely colder weather is better for me. The hottest I've ever raced was in the, I think they called it the Jayco Sun Tour in Australia, where there was the final stage around Arthur's Seat in the outskirts of Melbourne, or down the road from Melbourne, an hour or something like that. It apparently would take 11 minutes to evacuate the entire area, but it would only take 7 minutes for the entire area to be engulfed by flames, so they had to cancel the final stage because of the risk of a bushfire. And it was so hot. Now I wear contact lenses, but it was so hot that it felt like they were melting in your eyes. And you know when you're breathing in a sauna, it's just so hot, it's like breathing hot fire air. Basically, it was scorching. I don't know what the actual temperature was. I would guess low 40s, high 30s. But it's hot enough. I don't need it to be any hotter. I like it between 7 and 15 degrees for racing. For training, 15 to 20. That's nice. New chain lost in the post, Harry Jukes. No, I've borrowed a chain from another bike. Jamie Coldwell. I've heard of Jamie, actually. I couldn't picture him, but I do know Jamie's name. Right, sorry, muttering to myself whilst reading out the comments. That's Joshua Jack Smith, with who I remind him of. Everyday Cyclist. Hey Chris, what's your top 3 tips to improve sprinting, position, gearing? Right, really good form on the bike. So to get aerodynamic, if you're going to be going over 30 miles an hour, aerodynamics is more important than power output. So getting nice and small and compact. This is something I wish I'd focused on way more in the past. Cadence. Being able to pedal really, really quickly. That's also going to help you stay on top of that gear. Also drive you into the wind. Again, aerodynamics really, really matter. Then, repetition. So you want to practice activating those muscles. The best way it was ever put to me was by my coach Steve Benton years ago. Was imagine you have a path down to the garden shed. If you don't use that path regularly, the grass will grow up and you won't be able to see where it is, and think of that as your neuromuscular pathways. Whereas if you walk that path daily, well, not daily, but long enough to keep that path well trod, then you'll activate those muscles. It'd be really easy, real snappy, real powerful. So big gear sprints are really good for building explosive power. Start slow, big gear. And then for speed, you want to start fast in a low gear. So some big ring sprints, some small ring sprints. And then when it comes to actually sprinting in a race, it's all about timing and position. So you need to know how long it's going to take you to sprint to the end of the line once you've started sprinting. And also you need to know that you're in the good position, that you're not wasting energy. So often, and this is my mistake when I was a bike rider, you'd be trying to beat the well-known names. So Viviani, Cavendish, Greipel, and you'd be Groenewegen, Ewan, you'd be there and you think, oh, I'll have to be on their wheel. Well, if you want to beat them, ideally, unless you're faster than them, you're going to need to be in front of them. And that was a mistake I always made. So I'd always be starting from too far back. So that's something I would change in the future. So you're positioning in the finish. Fun adventure to live by bike that you've not done yet. What bike adventure would I like to do? I'm not massively into the adventure side of things. I'd love to go for a proper cross-country mountain bike ride, or spend a week properly riding my mountain bike in some high mountains, or a gravel bike even, actually. I think that would be quite good fun, just away from the traffic. Equally, if you go somewhere quiet, riding the road bike is amazing. That's it for me. Riding on the road, if it's quiet, it's amazing. Jacob Randolph, 16, Cat 2 rider. Thinking of starting a trading program to improve my VO2 max. Is starting in February too early? Nope, February's a good time to start, as is January, as is December or November. There's never a bad time to start. That's an important one, that, Jacob. Joshua Jack Smith. Have there been some town centre crits verified for late summer? Yes, there have. The Tour series, for example, I think have released their dates this week, haven't they? Here in the UK. I've got a dry throat from all this talking. I've run out of drink as well. Chris Lowe. Someone's agreed with Gareth's question. Chris Lowe. Hey, my son, 15, crashed big on the mountain bike. Fractured skull, broken wrist, split helmet. He's good now and just starting to get back on the bike. Do you have any advice for regaining your mojo? Blimey. That sounds horrific. I can't imagine how scary that must have been for you as well. My little boy knocked himself out in the summer on his bike. And I ran over to him and he was lying there completely motionless on the ground, not breathing, nothing. So I sympathise with how that must have been. Tips for regaining your mojo. You can't force it. It has to come naturally, doesn't it? It's to be really honest, I think you might find it just as hard as your son, because I've really struggled with it. I can't watch my little boy ride his bike in the way that I used to. I used to think he was invincible. So watch out for that. That'll be a nasty shock. I think just start small and start slow and just enjoy it. Just remind yourself and himself exactly why he likes riding a bike. I never had a problem with getting back up after a crash, really. It didn't knock my confidence, because generally freak accidents are exactly that. They are freak accidents. It's not likely something that he did that he would likely do again. It's accidents happen. So just little by little. Now's a good time to get back into it. Just easy. And I hope he does regain his mojo, because that sounds absolutely horrific. Tom, oh my god, OMG. Chris, can we do group rides, but easy, so I can keep up? Yes, if this is on... Was this on Zwift, or was this in real life? Either way, yes, I'm sure we can. Goodwin Cycles, favourite bike. My favourite bike? This was asked last time. Anything with orange in it. I like orange bikes. Joshua Jack Smith, what's the coldest weather then? We did some really... actually, I was talking about this the other day. One of the amateur races I did in the... the Ardèche in France in 2006. Up over a mountain, came down the other side, and it was just hail, and the road was just ice, and it was so cold and wet. We were going down... melting ice. So cold, wet and miserable. You're going down the hill with the brakes on in the little ring, just trying to pedal just to warm yourself back up. That was easily the worst weather I've ever been in. Mark F. Plans after I stop racing. Love Cornwall, by the way. First holiday there a couple of years ago. Definitely going to be back. My plans after racing. I'd like to continue working in the world of cycling. Absolutely. Passing on experience and knowledge to other people, and hopefully help motivate people to ride bikes, because I think it's an amazing thing to do. Yeah, it's quite an open-ended answer, isn't it? So many tricky names. Dionysus Patsias. Hey Chris, could you do more mountain bike vlogs? I could do. You know what though? Most road riders don't like watching them, which is why I try to be careful not to do too many. I've noticed that if I upload loads of mountain biking, clearly lots of people are road riders. They unsubscribe. But equally, I've come to the conclusion I should make the videos that I like making. The information will still be the same. Goodwin Cycles, can I surf? No, I cannot surf. Mira Sack, hey Chris, big fan of yours. We'd like to know which FTP would you consider race ready? Ooh, that depends on the category that you're going to be racing, depends on your ability as a bike rider, but also it depends on the time of year. Sometimes later in the year, you might not need to have the same actual threshold. You may be focusing more on your sprint, and all you need to do is just get to the end of the race. And you might find that actually having a 10 watt lower threshold but more explosive power is beneficial at that race at that time of year. It's cycling's such a weird sport. It's so much more complex than just simply your FTP is this, your result will be that. That GCN endurance session on the Sufferfest is brutal, isn't it? It's if that's the 60-minute one, which I think you're referring to, Sully 7334, that was hard. It was hard talking through it as well. Did I have a second sport as a child? And is there a sport I've never taken part that I'd like to? No. Well, yeah, I think it's really important to do other things. Unfortunately, I'm not that good. The only other sport, I'm not even sure if it classes as a sport, more of a leisure activity that I do enjoy would be paddleboarding, just because I find it so difficult that it shuts your brain off from anything else in life just to balance on this board. It's enjoyable because of that. No, there's no other sport. Yeah, some sort of rally racing, that would be cool. But again, it's not really a sport. I think of sport as being like a properly physical activity. If you drove an old school rally car, maybe that is a proper physical activity. Don't know. Cycling, I like riding off-road. It's fun. 2 wheels, I feel like me on 2 wheels. Right, I'm going to be selective here because this has already gone on for 51 minutes. Hi Chris, glad you went solo and moved on from you know where. When training, do you always use a heart rate monitor or sometimes just a power meter? Sometimes. Thank you for the cheers there, Zeusuki. Yeah, no, I have a heart rate monitor on my wrist, but actually it's not as accurate as I might like. So they use optical sensors on the back of the watch, but often I'll be like properly panting and out of breath, and it will tell me that I'm doing a warm up and my heart rate's 99. So it's not that accurate at all. For years I didn't wear a heart rate monitor, but recently I got into the habit of wearing it again because you always get HR, training stress score, if your power meter doesn't work and things like that. And I like data. I am a bit of a nerd. So yes, I have started wearing one, even if it is just the one on my arm. Going forwards, I will have a heart rate strap, especially if I use the indoor training more. Last question. No, this is not me telling you it's the last question. This is CID Biking. Last question. I'm 14 years old. Want to be a pro rider when older. Do I have any advice on making it as a pro? Focus on enjoying it. That's what I wish I'd done more. And I said this in the podcast with Julie and Georgia. Focus on enjoying it, because if you enjoy what you're doing, the success and things like that will come as a byproduct of the enjoyment, rather than focusing on what the end goal is. Because actually, you can make a career out of cycling without being a pro bike rider. Probably enjoy it more, have a much more varied experience and a lot less stress as well. But equally, if you really do want to be a pro bike rider, enjoyment, focus, dedication, motivation, good support will be very important as well. What heart rate zone is VO2 max? Well, that's going to be, it depends how many zones you use. I would use 5 or 6 zones for my heart rate, so it'll be zone 5. New to cycling, this is Bill Ross. Sorry, Bill Ross, I'm new to cycling and told a bike fit my bib tights were too long, bib shorts were too long. Like with your new boot always feels tight. Any tips on visuals or feel to know bibs are right fit? Well, I'm not a fashion guru. I probably can't advise you. If you want to wear your bib tights really, really long down to almost to your knees, and they're comfortable like that, there's no reason why you shouldn't. You know, lots of people do wear really long shorts. If you want to wear hot pants, it's equally fine. Just wear what's comfortable. I think there's too much attention on, oh, it comes past 2/3 of your thigh, or it doesn't quite reach the final fit. Who knows? Cycling is one of those really weird, clicky sports. Dress it as you're comfortable, and you'll enjoy it more. Is St. Perrin staying with the Conagas this year? Can't answer that, Ray. Philip Clare, sadly got to go. Enjoyed your answers. Thank you very much. I'm going to start going as well in a minute. When we get towards that hour, that's it. The golden hour will be over. Best cycling holiday destination from Jack Morrissey. I would go to Mallorca, partly because I know it enough that I could really enjoy the riding I was doing, but also I don't know it well enough that it wouldn't feel new if I was to go there again. And good weather, nice roads, nice people. Brian Griffiths. Hi Chris, just got my new bike delivered. I bought it online in the sales, carbon aero, Ultegra at a good price. One caveat though, no disc brakes. Am I doing the right thing in 2021? Well, I wouldn't buy a bike without discs, only for personal preference, but if you had a really good deal and it was a good price, then of course you're doing the right thing, because you'll still have it's going to perform just as well. The only thing that will be different is the feeling of the braking. Like, yeah, you could argue that maybe things like through axles and stuff are less stiff. Without the through axles, maybe less stiff, but to be really honest, not many people are going to notice the difference. So yeah, you are doing the right thing. I would choose discs, just because that's my personal preference. I would even downgrade the group set just to go with the discs. But if you had a good deal, then yeah, you've done the right thing. What's the weirdest kit or accessory that I've ever seen from AWAB? Oh, I know. Have you ever seen the helmet straps with the little extra like foam thing here? I think they call them cat ears or something weird like that. It's to deflect the wind around your ears. They work, but they look weird. Battlefield Slayer, what's up my guy? How's it going? It's going well. You've joined late, you can watch the rest of it. What's my highest ever power? Mid 1700s from Jacob Randolph. Max Carl, do you think professional athletes bring something to society? In what way do they contribute to the greater good? Well, Max, I actually think that sport is quite important for young kids to be inspired, to see that they don't just have to have a really normal life. They don't have to grow up and stay in their local area. I think it's important that people are inspired by doing something that is special. It is pushing them. There are lots of things in sport that are really healthy. I know there are lots of things in sport that aren't healthy. It's not a necessity in society, but I think to allow a young person to dream of doing something that is special and is amazing. But also sport has loads of people involved behind the scenes that you never see, that equally are part of something really special. And I think cycling is really good because it actually goes to the people, not all the time obviously, but it's a travelling circus and it will come to random villages throughout the world, and I think that is really special. So yeah, I think sport does contribute to the greater good. Obviously not all sportsmen and women are role models and things like that, and I think that's probably wrong that they're held up such a high pedestal, but I think for young children to be inspired, sport is important. How's Micah's training been going? She's been doing well, John. We touched on that a little bit earlier. She's been on the turbo trainer. Mentioned she'd ridden when both in the Netherlands, but would you like to do an event together, such as a sportif? Would we like to do a sportif together? Mike's over there. Yeah, she's saying yes. She'd like to do a hilly one because she has the e-bike. Hi Chris, when do you start your road training for the season ahead? Well, I started in November, and then things are chilled out a little bit at the moment, and that's just because we don't actually have a definitive date for when things will start. So yeah, I am training at the moment. This week particularly has been a very quiet one, but that's going to ramp back up slowly over the next few weeks. James Smith, jam or cream on scone first? Come on, we all know the answer to that. Jam goes on first and the cream goes on top. Simon Thomas, sorry, just joined the chat. Have I lost weight? No. What I have though is a really good light, which makes it look like I've lost weight. But thank you. That proves that it's working. Do I have a smartwatch? If so, do I use it for cycling and stuff at all? That's from Johnny Moore. Yes, it's Garmin Fenix, which I bought because I wanted to measure my body battery levels and stress levels and things like that, and my sleep, because I don't sleep really well. It's just a thing. I like waking up in the night, or I have poor sleep, and tracking it actually really helps and makes a difference. I use it for cycling to the point that sometimes I don't have a head unit on a bike and I just record the power numbers to that. It works well, and actually I've had it for a long time, just over a year, and the screen hasn't scratched, which I think is quite a good display of how well made it is, the quality. Haley Mason, as a returning cyclist, how do you match up HR zones and power zones as fitness progresses? I found that my heart rate isn't necessarily in the same zone when I analyse Strava. No, so I would use for endurance rides, heart rate is a good gauge, but for actual short, intense intervals and things like that, or just going up a climb, using a power meter is more accurate. Yeah, so they don't line up. There's what's it called? A lag, heart rate lag. There's a proper name for it, and it eludes me right now. Stephen Dean, hot pants. Yep, mentioned hot pants. All 3 Grand Tours, 1 using rim brakes. Yep, doesn't mean I want to ride them though. But then I ride on little short, sharp lanes where the surfaces aren't great and things like that. That's why I choose discs over rim brakes. That's the real reason, I suppose. It's because of where I'm riding. If I lived in the Netherlands, would it be different? Maybe. I don't know. Tom, for mountain biking and cyclocross, is a carbon sole shoe needed? For mountain biking and cyclocross, I actually reckon you want a little bit more give in your shoes than on the road. Just because you're moving your body weight around a lot on your feet when you're stood up on descents and technical sections, and if your shoes are too stiff, it can really start to hurt the arches in your feet. Good stream, very enjoyable, thank you. Funny Di2 stories to tell you. Yeah, just the other day I went to get on Zwift actually, and I got dropped by the group immediately because I realised my Di2 was flat. So, okay, not a massive problem. Go and plug the cable in. Thought I'd go and chase back on then. So I chased and chased and chased and chased. And of course, there's no catching up on Zwift. I didn't realise this at the time. It's the first proper experience of getting dropped on Zwift, and you'll never catch back up. So then I charged the battery, knowing that the next day when I was going to go out and get on the bike, it'd all be there, fully charged, ready to go. Of course, it didn't work at all, did it? DR2 had died, the battery had died. I think I hadn't used it for a while or something like that. So it's quite rare that happens. It's probably not that funny, is it? It's just frustrating. Something that does happen quite regularly with Di2, and it is quite a good feature, the same with the SRAM gears as well, is if you're out on a ride and someone's battery's gone flat, you can whip the cable out, plug someone else's battery into your rear mech or whatever to get you into a better get yourself home gear. Seth TX, I wish cycling in the USA would elevate to the levels in the UK and Europe. It's up and down here. You've had some amazing events in the USA over the years, and it will come back. It really will. Jeffrey Matt, do you think that media coverage of cycling is too focused on performance rather than enjoyment? Possibly. Yeah, that's an interesting question. I think there are definitely companies and publications out there which do focus on enjoyment, and they've moved away from the performance side of things. But some of the magazines that you might be reading, or the websites which are based on the old magazines, they originated from racing, because cycling was very, very racing focused in the summer, and in the winter maybe it was more enjoyment and just adventuring. Maybe we're at like this turning point where the whole, maybe the competitive, can't speak. Maybe the competitive side of things is going to start to dwindle away, and actually these unique adventure style events and the enjoyment style of things will become more and more popular, and that's what people will focus on. Goodwin Cycles, I'm leaving. Cream first. Right, let's do 3 more questions because it's been an hour now. I kind of thought I'd be on here for half an hour, to be honest. I do enjoy this. That's not the point. The point is I have quite a busy weekend. It's been quite a busy few weeks. I'd like to watch a film, that sort of thing. Role models in the sport, etc. Have you seen the Icarus documentary on Netflix? What are my thoughts? I have seen it. I didn't think it was that groundbreaking. Everyone raved about things like that, and I just thought, well, maybe it's because when you grew up in cycling in the 90s and you hear about the Festina scandal and things like that, and you read the Willy Voet book, nothing's really going to shock you anymore, and it's all just, you become numb to that. It's not. So yeah, it wasn't that shocking. I don't think it was really that surprising. I say that as if it's almost blasé, but it's not quite. Yeah, it's clearly bad, and that's a reason why this corruption in sport, athletes aren't all good. But I still think the principle of sport being good for inspiration is valid. Paul Ingham, what's the closest match to a Caselli Perfetto jacket in my experience? Lacole doing Acra Zero jersey, which I always said was the best piece of kit I'd ever owned, because you can wear it most of the year. Cardiac drift, thank you Tom. That was the phrase about when your heart rate's not keeping up with your power output or your exertion. Justin Freeman, I have to train tomorrow morning. Indoor on Zwift because of the weather. Like a beer on a Saturday night. 3 Betty Stogs tonight. Cornish ale for those not in the know. What session should I do? How long are you going to ride on Zwift? I would go and do... It depends how long you've got. It depends how long you want to be on the turbo trainer. 90 minutes is long enough to spend on the turbo trainer, really, I would say. So go and find something with a nice variety of intervals. Something that help burn off the beer. Bought a heavy aluminium GT gravel bike, 11 kilos when I got back into cycling. This is Arnold Chan. Fits like a charm. Very nice for long rides. Dying for a light, stiff, fast bike to drop my mates. Upgrade or a new bike? If you like that bike and it suits you, just changing the wheels and a few components on that bike will make a big difference to how you'll feel on that bike. Ashley Keenan. Hi Chris and Micah. Will we be watching the cyclocross tomorrow? I don't think we've got the time tomorrow, actually. I think tomorrow's going to be quite busy. So, and you'll find out why on Monday. Who's going to win the cyclocross tomorrow? Van der Poel or Van Aert? I want Van der Poel to win. However, I actually think that Van Aert will. Unfortunately. Another one of these in 2 weeks? Yeah, we could do another one of these in 2 weeks. Transcontinental, Max Carl. No, I wouldn't do that. That's too much for me. I don't like spending that much time on my own, so that's the reason. Lord de Lego, cheers Chris. See you on Monday night then. See you on Monday night. Not in real life. John Rogers, thank you for all the answers. Thanks Chris. Oh, thank you everyone. Right, there we go. That's it. I think everyone's kicking me off now, which is the perfect way to do this. If you'd like to do another one of these in 2 weeks' time, I think 2 weeks is frequently enough, then we can. I have a nice little mountain bike video that's going to go up next week. I think it's a nice one. That's where the picture in the background's from. I don't know where I'm pointing here. Loads of really steep, nasty climbs. But instead of just doing the climbs, I will also talk about their max efforts, like genuine max efforts just to get up them, but what that means. So there's a power meter on that bike, heart rate data and things like that, and then compare it to a max effort on the road, because it is quite different and the focus is quite different. Mira Sack, Steebar's going to win tomorrow for sure. It'd be nice if he would. Lars van der Haar, that would be good. We like Lars, don't we? I used to ride a bike with Lars when he was even smaller. Used to have a picture of him sat on top of a massive great bike alongside one of the motorways in the Netherlands. Right, that's it from us. Massive thank you to everyone that tuned in, left a question. Hugely appreciated. Hope you enjoy your weekends, and I'll see you on a live video in 2 weeks' time. Next weekend there'll be a mountain bike video, and on Monday there'll be some sort of announcement as to why I've been so busy. Thank you everyone. I'm going to find the end stream button, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye bye bye.